Which statement pertaining to fuel air mixtures or fuel air ratios is true? The mixture ratio which gives the best power is richer than the mixture ratio which gives the maximum economy. What is the purpose of a power check on a reciprocating engine? To determine satisfactory performance. Some aircraft engine manufacturers equip their product with choke or tapered grand cylinders in order to provide a straight cylinder bore at operating temperatures. What is likely to occur if a reciprocating engine is operated at high power settings before it is properly warmed up? Oil starvation of the bearings and other parts. A characteristic of a dynafocal engine mount as applied to aircraft reciprocating engines is that the shock mounts point towards the engine's center of gravity. The primary concern in establishing the firing order for an opposed engine is to provide for balance and eliminate vibrations to the greatest extent possible. If the oil pressure gauge fluctuates over a wide range from 0 to normal operating pressure, the most likely cause is low oil supply. Grinding the valves of a reciprocating engine to a feathered edge is likely to result in pre-ignition and burnt valves. Compression ratio is the ratio between the cylinder volume with piston at bottom dead center and at top dead center. By use of differential pressure, compression tester is determined that cylinder 3 of a 9-cylinder radial engine will not hold pressure after the crankshaft has been rotated 260 from top dead center. Compression stroke number 1. How can this be normal indication? Engine crankshaft runout is usually checked during engine overhaul and after prop strike or sudden engine stoppage. Backfiring through the carburetor generally results from the use of an excessive lean mixture. During ground check, an engine is found to be rough running. The magneto drop is normal and the manifold pressure is higher than normal for any given RPM. The trouble may be caused by a dead cylinder. How is proper in-gap clearance on a new piston ring assured during overhaul of an engine. By placing the rings in the cylinder and measuring the end gap with filler gauges. A condition that can occur in radial engines but is unlikely to occur in horizontally opposed engines is hydraulic lock. During overhaul, reciprocating engine exhaust valves are checked for stretch with a contour or radius gauge. Which of the following would indicate a general weak engine condition when operating with a fixed pitch propeller or test club? Lower than normal static RPM full throttle operation. Valve overlap is defined as the number of degrees of a crankshaft travel during which both valves are off their seats. What is the purpose of installing 2 or more springs on each valve in an aircraft engine? To eliminate valve spring vibration or surge. Why does the smoothness of operation of an engine increase with greater number of cylinders? The power impulses are spaced closer together. What is the basic operational sequence for reducing the power output of an engine equipped with a constant speed propeller? What is basic sequence for reducing the power output? Reduce the manifold pressure, then the RPM. What is the best indication of worn valve guides? High oil consumption. The primary purpose in setting proper valve timing and overlap is obtain the best volumetric efficiency and lower cylinder operating temperatures. The operating temperature valve clearance of a radial engine as compared to cold valve clearance is greater. One cause of afterfiring in an aircraft engine is an excessive rich mixture. When will small induction system air leaks have the most notable effect on an engine operation? At low RPM. If the hot clearance is used to set the valves when the engine is cold, what will occur during operation of the engine? The valves will open late and close early. If the exhaust valves of a four-stroke cycle engine is closed and the intake valve is just closed, the piston is in the compression stroke. If metallic particles are found in the oil filter during inspection, the cause should be identified and corrected before the aircraft is released to flight. The valve clearance of an engine using hydraulic lifters when the lifters are completely flat or empty should not exceed a specific amount above zero. The actual power delivered to the propeller of an aircraft is called brake horsepower. During routine inspection, reciprocating engines, of a reciprocating engine, a deposit of small, bright metallic particles which do not cling to the magnetic drain plug is discovered in the oil sump and on the surface of the oil filter. This condition may be a result of abnormal plane type bearing wear and cause for further investigation. To what altitude will a turbocharged engine maintain sea level pressure? Critical altitude. In an 8-cylinder engine, if an 8-cylinder engine is to be removed, at what position in the cylinder should the piston be? Top dead center. Campground pistons are installed in some aircraft engines to provide a better fit at operating temperatures. Excessive valve clearance in a piston engine decreases valve overlap. What is the principal advantage of using propeller reduction gears? To enable the engine RPM to increase with an accompanying increase in power and allow the propeller to remain at lower, more efficient RPM. One of the best indicators of reciprocating engine combustion chamber problem is spark plug condition. If an engine with a stroke of 6 inches is operated at 2000 RPMs, the piston movement with this cylinder will be at max velocity 90 degrees after top dead center. The horsepower developed in the cylinders of a reciprocating engine is known as the indicate horsepower. Which bearing is least likely to be a roller or ball bearing? Master rod bearing radial engine. A unsupercharged aircraft reciprocating engine operating at full throttle from sea level to 10,000 feet, provided the RPM is unchanged, will lose power due to the reduced density of the air drawn into the cylinders. What is the purpose of the safety circuit installed on some valve stems? to prevent valves from falling into the combustion chamber? Which condition would be the least likely to be caused by failed or failing engine bearings? Which of the conditions would be the least likely to be caused by failed or failing engine bearings? I knew it. Low oil temperatures. Go with your gut. How many of the following are factors in establishing the maximum compression ratio limitations of an aircraft engine? Detonation characteristics of fuel, design limitations of the engine, and the degree of supercharging. An increase in manifold pressure with constant RPM will cause the bearing load in an engine to increase. When is the fuel-air mixture ignited in a conventional reciprocating engine? Shortly before the piston reaches top dead center on the compression stroke. Which statement is correct regarding engine crankshaft? Movable counterweights serve to reduce the torsional vibrations in an aircraft reciprocating engine. The 5 events of a 4-stroke cycle engine in the order of their occurrence are: intake, compression, ignition, power, and exhaust. Using the following information, determine how many degrees the crankshaft will rotate with both the intake and exhaust valves seated. Take opens at 15. Okay, 70, 45, 10. 245 degrees. 180, 20, 245. Ignition occurs at 28 degrees before top dead center on a certain 4-stroke cycle engine, and the intake valve opens at 15 degrees bottom before top dead center. How many degrees of crankshaft travel after ignition does the intake valve open? Mm, 373. $28, 180 plus 165. As the pressure is applied during a reciprocating engine compression check using a differential pressure tester, what would a movement of the propeller in the direction of engine rotation indicate? the piston was positioned past top dead center. If the oil pressure of a cold engine is higher than at normal operating temperatures, the oil pressure of a cold engine is higher than at normal operating temperatures. Oh, the oil pressure of a colder engine is high. Yeah, so engine lubrication system is probably operating normal. How may it be determined that a reciprocating engine with a dry sump is pre-oiled significantly? Oil will flow from the engine return line or indicator port. Excessive valve clearance results in valves opening late and closing early. Cast iron piston rings may be used in chromoly plated cylinders. True. Chromoly plated rings may be used in plain steel cylinders. True. So both 1 and 2 are true. Some cylinder barrels are hardened by nitrating. Which statement is true regarding bearings used in high-powered reciprocating aircraft engine? Which statement is true regarding bearings used in high-powered reciprocating engine or aircraft engines? Z equals the radius. There is less friction when ball bearings are used than when roller bearings are used. Which of these conditions will cause an engine to have increased tendency to detonate? High manifold pressure or high intake air temperature. If the crankshaft runout reads on the dial indicator are plus 0.002 inch and minus 0.003 inch, the runout is 0.005 inch. On which part of a cylinder wall of a normally operated engine will the greatest amount of wear occur? Near the top of the cylinder. Which fuel-air mixture will result in the highest engine temp? All other factors remaining constant. A mixture leaner than a manual lean mixture of 0.060. When cleaning aluminum and magnesium engine parts, it is advisable to soak them in solution containing soap because some of the soap will become impregnated in the surface of the material and subsequently, causing engine oil contamination and foaming. Tongue can't say it. Pre-ignition is caused by improper ignition timing. False. Detonation occurs when an area of the combustion chamber becomes inconsistent and ignites the fuel-air mixture in advance of normal ignition timing. Neither one are true. Because pre-ignition of the mixture excessive valve clearance will cause the duration of a valve opening to decrease for both intake and exhaust valves. What will be the likely result if a piston ring gap happens to be aligned when performing a differential pressure compression check on a cylinder? Or warn defective ring indication? Which of the following is most likely to occur if an overhead valve engine is operated with inadequate valve clearances? Which of the following is most likely to occur when the overhead valve engine is operating with inadequate valve clearances? The valve will not seat positively during start and engine warm-up. Reduce the power output of an engine equipped with a constant speed propeller and operating near maximum BMEP. So, normally manifold pressure is reduced with the throttle control before the RPM is reduced with the propeller control. Manifold pressure is reduced with the throttle control before the RPMs are reduced with the propeller control. Reduced air density at high altitudes has a declined effect on carburetion, resulting in reduction of engine power by reduced air density. Now too has a declining effect on carburetion. Excessively enriching the fuel-air mixture. Which of the following would most likely cause a reciprocating engine to backfire through the induction system at low RPM? Lean mixture. On which stroke are both valves on a 4-stroke cycle reciprocating aircraft engine open. Exhaust and intake. Which of the following is a characteristic of a thrust bearing used in most radio engine? Thrust bearing. Deep groove ball. If the intake valve is open too early in the cycle of operation of a 4-stroke cycle engine, it may result in. If the intake valve is open too early in the cycle of operation of a 4-stroke cylinder engine, if it opens too early, the intake valve. Engine kickback. No. It's backfiring into the induction system. Okay. I was right. I went with my thought, not my gut. So, backfiring into the induction system. Engine kickback was wrong. Okay. If engine operates with a low oil pressure and a high oil temperature, the problem may be caused by the engine operates with a low oil pressure and a high temperature. Leaky oil dilution valve. Which of the following will be caused by excessive valve clearance of a cylinder on a reciprocating aircraft engine? Which of the following would be caused by excessive valve clearance? Intake and exhaust valves will open early and close late. Power induced by shorting of the exhaust vent. Reduced valve overlap period is what they're trying to say in all 3 questions or answers. Engine operating flexibility is the ability of an engine to run smooth and give the desired performance at all speeds. An aircraft reciprocating engine using hydraulic valve lifters is observed to have no clearance in its valve operating mechanism after minimum inlet oil and cylinder head temperatures for takeoff have been reached. When can this condition be explained or accepted? Well, during normal operation. What is required by 14 CFR Part 43 Appendix D when performing an annual 100-hour inspection on a reciprocating engine aircraft? A cylinder compression check. Increased water vapor, higher relative humidity in incoming air to the reciprocating engine will normally result in which of the following? Increased water vapor, higher, so it's denser. Decrease engine power at constant RPM. Well, it's going to decrease the engine power at a constant RPM and manifold pressure. After spark plugs from a opposed engine have been serviced, in what position should they be reinstalled? The next firing order to the one from which they were moved and swapped bottom to top. A 9-cylinder engine with a spore of 5.5 inches and a stroke of 6 inches will have the total piston displacement (1283 cubic inches). An engine misses in both the right and left positions of the magneto switch. The quickest method for locating the trouble is to check for one or more cold cylinders. What does valve overlap promote? Better scavenging and cooling characteristics. Full floating pins or piston pins are those which allow motion between the pin and both the piston and the small end of the connecting rod. If air is heard coming from the crankshaft breather or oil filter during a differential compression check, what is an indication of the breather? Coming from the cranker's breather. Piston ring leakage. During overhaul, disassembled parts of an engine are usually degreased with some form of mineral spirits solvents rather than mixed degreasers, primarily because water mixed degreasers residue may cause engine oil consumption in the overhead. No. Solvent degreasers are much more effective. Water mixed degreaser residues may cause engine oil contamination in the overhauled engine. The floating control thermostat used on some reciprocating engines installations help regulate oil temperature by controlling the airflow through the oil cooler. Which type of bearings are generally used for connecting rods and camshafts? Plain. What is the advantage of using metallic sodium-filled exhaust valves in aircraft reciprocating engines? Reduce valve operating temperatures. Which of the following conditions would most likely lead to detonation? Use of fuel with too low octane rating. Before attempting to start a radial engine that has been shut down for more than 30 minutes, turn the propeller by hand 3 or 4 revolutions in the normal direction of rotation to check for liquid lock. At what speed must a crankshaft turn if each cylinder of a 4-stroke cycle engine is to be fired 200 times a minute? So 200 times times 2 is 400 RPMs. When does valve overlap occur in operation of an aircraft reciprocating engine? At the end of the exhaust stroke and the beginning of the intake stroke. A hissing sound from an exhaust stack when the propeller is being pulled through manually indicates hissing sound from the exhaust stack. Exhaust valve blow by. That's what I fucking thought, dude. Oh my god, I'm getting tired. Okay. Exhaust valve blow by. I don't even know how I got that wrong. What special procedure must be followed when adjusting the valves of an engine equipped with a floating cam ring? Eliminate cam bearing clearance when making valve adjustments. What could cause excessive pressure buildup in the crankcase of a reciprocating engine? Plugged crankcase breather. Valve clearance change on opposed engines. Valve clearance changes on opposed engines using hydraulic lifters are accomplished by push rod replacement. Standard aircraft cylinder oversize usually range from 0.010 inch to 0.030 inch. Oversized on automobile engine cylinders may range up to 0.100 inch. This is because aircraft engine cylinders have relatively thin walls and may be nitrated. If the ignition switch is moved from both to either left or right during an engine ground check, normal operation is usually indicated by a slight drop in torque meter pressure indication. Drop in torque meter pressure indication. Which statement is correct regarding a 4-stroke cycle aircraft engine? The intake valve closes on the compression stroke. What tool is generally used to measure the crankshaft rotation in degrees? A timing disc. Which of the following engine servicing operations generally require engine pre-oil prior to starting the engine? Engine installation. If fuel-air ratio is proper and ignition timing is correct, the combustion process should be complete. Just after top dead center at the beginning of the power stroke. the volume of a cylinder equals 70 cubic inches when the piston is at bottom dead center. When the piston is at top dead center, the volume equals 10 cubic inches. What is the compression ratio? 7:1. Direct mechanical push-pull carburetor heat control linkage should be normally adjusted so that the stop location on the diverter valve will be connected before the stop at the control lever reached in both hot and cold positions. Which of the following will decrease volumetric efficiency in a reciprocating engine? Improper valve timing, sharp bends in the induction system, and high carburetor air temperatures. During the inspection of an engine control system, in which push-pull control rod are used? During inspection of an engine control system, in which push-pull control rods are used, the threaded rod end should be checked for the amount of thread engagements by means of inspection holes. Let's see what I got. It's not perfect, but it'll have to do. How many I miss? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what were those? Which condition would be the least likely to be caused by failed or failing engine bearings? Low oil temperatures. Oh my god, I totally read this wrong. Okay, so which condition would be least likely to be caused by failing? Least likely. Low oil temperatures. Oh my god. That's why you read everything, people. If the intake valve is opening too early in the cycle of operation of a 4-stroke engine, it may result in backfiring into the induction system. The intake valve opens too early in the cycle of operation. It's going to backfire into the induction system. This one too. A hissing sound from the exhaust stacks when the propeller is being pulled through manually indicates exhaust valve blow by. It's not even like it's a normal thing. Okay, I'm giving myself a hard time for no reason. Now this one, I really messed up one. If the ignition switch is moved from both to either left or right during an engine ground check, normal operation is usually indicated by a slight drop. I knew that, but I just messed up on the torque meter pressure indication. All right, so things to work on. Still taking the test Friday, so 96 on this.